we had a crazy week 1 in the NFL. So before we get into week 2, we're going to recap week 1. Detroit and Kansas City. Now, the day after I recorded the video, Nick Wright on First Things First said, even with no Chris Jones, with no Travis Kelce, he thought the Kansas City Chiefs were still going to wallop the Detroit Lions. That is word for word what he said. It was at that point that I'm like, oh, I hope the Detroit Lions win. And had I made the video after I heard him say that, I would have picked Detroit. 100% I would have picked Detroit. But I'm like, no, it's gonna be a close game. Kadarius Toney, you gotta fix your drop issue because one of them led to a pick 6, which ultimately cost you this game. And there's gonna be other games where like one play that went one way or another literally determined whether I was right or wrong. And I'm not gonna go through all of these in super long depth or anything like that. I'm just going to quickly go through most of these, and a couple of them I'll talk about with a little more length. Atlanta, Carolina, kind of like what I said. Bryce Young's first game. Atlanta, I kind of like their weapons. Cincinnati, Cleveland. Joe Burrow continues to not play well against Cleveland. And like last year, the Bengals got off to a slow start because Joe Burrow had to have an appendectomy. His appendix, I don't know if it burst or inflamed or something with his appendix, and he had to have it removed. That cost him his preseason last year. This year, he had the calf injury. So then, he lost his preseason, and then he wasn't able to practice or anything like that, and they came out very slow versus Cleveland. Jacksonville, Indy. While this was a close game for a little bit, Jacksonville ended up taking over. And I think I said I picked up the Jags defense, expecting like Anthony Richardson in his first game to make a couple of mistakes. And the Jags defense actually gave me 17 points. So that was a nice pickup. I have dropped them because they're facing Kansas City. So then we have Tampa, Minnesota. I got this one wrong. Just dead wrong. Tampa. I mean, I'm a little surprised they won this game. Justin Jefferson had a good game. Jordan Addison, he had an all right game. He was on my fantasy bench. Like he had an all right game. I know they definitely shut down Justin Jefferson in the second half. He only had like 2 catches where he had like 7 in the first half. Tennessee, New Orleans. I did get this one right. I kind of like New Orleans offense a little bit. Derek Carr, Michael Thomas, Chris Olave. Once Alvin Kamara comes back from his 3-game suspension, their defense is all right. So I had a feeling they were going to take this one. San Fran and Pittsburgh. I don't think we need to talk about this one. We can just kind of move on, and I will talk about it a little bit. So. Jesus. If you hear my phone vibrating, I'm sorry. I think almost anything that could have gone wrong for Pittsburgh went wrong. The one bright spot, TJ Watt. And I say that because he had 3 sacks, 5 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery. He showed up to play. Steelers had multiple injuries come out of this game. Cam Hayward has a groin. He's going to miss about half the season. Deontay Johnson's going to miss games with a hamstring injury. Other guys like DeMarvin Leal with an arm injury. I heard elbow. I heard tricep. Pat Freiermuth, he came away with a chest injury when he got smashed by Talanoa Hufanga. So there was injuries. The offense, the offense just could not get anything going for most of the game. And when they finally got something going, it's because the 49ers were in prevent defense in a 2-minute drill at the end of the first half. They're just trying to not allow the big play over the top. They will gladly give you anywhere between 5 to 10 yards in front of them if it means they don't allow 50 yards going that way. So, San Francisco, they played super well. Christian McCaffrey played really well. You've got Brock Purdy, who he heard what Pat Peterson said about like the offense has tells, and he guaranteed a pick. I didn't like that. I even tweeted on Twitter, like retweeted the post and said, if I'm Brock Purdy, I am going after Patrick Peterson. I am going to test him. And he did. Ayuk had an incredible touchdown versus him on another touchdown where Pat Pete fell down. So Ayuk just in general had a crazy game. Christian McCaffrey had a crazy game. And Kenny was bad. Kenny was bad. One of his interceptions, like, I get Deontay slipped. He slipped, he fell down, and it ended up being picked off. Okay, fine, whatever. It's not a guarantee it would have been a completed pass if Deontay didn't slip. So, we'll have to see what happens next in the next game when they play Monday Night Football. But they just couldn't get anything going on offense. And the defense, they struggled to stop San Francisco, but, you know, they're getting tired, and I think they had 40 snaps by half. Like, they're tired, and San Francisco's wearing them down, and I am very much in favor of firing Matt Canada. Like, I was lenient the year he had Ben because his system was more meant for a guy who could move around. Okay, fine. Ben couldn't move around his final year. I get it. Then, it's, okay, you have Mitch Trubisky, you have Kenny Pickett. Both those guys can move around. Still did nothing. So it's, okay, I don't like him. He seems like an idiot. And lo and behold, poof. So he needs to be fired. He does. And then the Steelers, do not hire from within. Go get a guy from outside. Because if you just go ahead and promote the quarterback coach, I'm going to be pissed off. Go get a guy. Go get like a guy from Shanahan or from McVay. Go get a young offensive genius. I just don't know. And here's the thing. I know they're not going to fire Matt Canada. I know they're not. Because they don't fire people. The season's going to end. He's still going to be the offensive coordinator. And this is his last year under contract. They are just after the season going to say, well, Matt, thank you for your contributions to the team. We're going to choose to go in another direction with offensive coordinator. Fire his ass, and then you can start anew with a new offensive coordinator earlier. Then you're not just starting the offseason. You have multiple weeks, multiple months with this guy before the season even ends. Okay. Arizona, Washington. I picked Washington. Arizona's not a good team. Baltimore, Houston. I said Baltimore was going to abuse C.J. Stroud, and they did. Green Bay, Chicago. This one surprised me a little bit, though I also don't think I realized how bad Chicago's defense is. Apparently, they have a bad defense, and I didn't know that. Vegas, Denver. This is 1 point. I said it was going to be close. I mean, to start the game off with an onside kick, though. I know you did that in the second half of the Super Bowl, but, like, come on. Philly, New England. This is actually a much closer game than I thought it was going to be, and weather could have played a part in that. Miami, LA Chargers. This was a game where literally one play and I'm wrong. So, but I said, I literally said this. Miami's going to make one or two plays against the Chargers defense that the Chargers won't make against Miami's defense. I literally said that. And it pretty much ended up being true because of Tyreek Hill. Dude's a monster. LA at Seattle. LA Rams, that is. I picked Seattle, and wow, Rams surprised the hell out of me on that. Like, jeez. Great game. And who knows, maybe we got to reconsider how we see the NFC West. Obviously it's only week 1, and you don't want to really, really, really overreact to anything because someone had a bad game, someone had a good game. That's why the first couple weeks of predictions are tough. But who knows, maybe the Rams are back to being good this year. Dallas at New York Giants. Well, at least Pittsburgh didn't have the worst game. That would probably belong to the New York Giants. And actually, I want to even wonder if Cincinnati had a worse game. I didn't watch it, so I don't know. But, that's... Damn, Dallas. And to think, I almost took their defense. Oh well. I almost took their defense in fantasy football. That guy's gain, I guess. And even watching the pivot, Micah Parsons said how good the defense was going to be. And it's like, okay. Should have listened. Buffalo at New York Jets. So, I was not a fan of the Aaron Rodgers pickup. I didn't think it was going to work. I thought they had way too many stars on the team for it to work. I thought, Aaron went back-to-back MVP, whatever. People bring that up all the time when they were talking about the Jets. And then it'd be like, he only had one bad season compared to his two back-to-back, the back-to-back MVP. Yeah, but one season is an anomaly. 2 seasons and it's a trend. Like last year, Russell Wilson was awful. If he's awful again this year, he's finished. He will not be a starter anymore. So, while Russell never had an awful year in Seattle, he had an awful year last year. If he has an awful year this year, then guess what? The one awful year that was an anomaly isn't an anomaly anymore. At that point, it is a trend. So I thought he wasn't going to be at an MVP level this year. And now we'll never know if it works. We will, at least this year. But even then the team's not going to be the same. Guys will come. Guys will go. Guys will be signed to contracts. And guys will get older. So, but also, some of the young guys will be more experienced next year. I do feel bad for Aaron Rodgers, though. And if no one guessed that at some point during the season, the Jets' offensive line would let Aaron down and he would get hurt, you were kidding yourself. Now, I understand, before you go right to the comments, hold on. I understand that Aaron, the play he got hurt, it wasn't technically the offensive line's fault. It wasn't their fault, because their job on that play was to get the pass rushers' hands down and get them down. It's supposed to be a 3-step drop, let it rip. Whether you throw it to the player or you throw it out of bounds, you're supposed to get rid of that ball. Aaron held it. So then Leonard Floyd was able to get back up off the ground and go sack him. But even before he got hurt, he was still getting pressured. Zach Wilson, when he came into the game, was getting pressured. Like, the offensive line is bad. It is. And that's going to provide a problem for Zach Wilson and for any other potential starting quarterbacks for the Jets this year. And if they don't address the offensive line during the offseason, if Aaron Rodgers comes back next year, it's going to be a problem again. Because at that point, Dwayne Brown, as old as he is, I think he's 38. He will now be 39. And who knows if he even wants to play at 39. Mekhi Becton, if he can stay healthy this year, great. But if he can't stay healthy, then that's another year of injuries for him. Do you want him at that point? Is he just going to say screw it and retire? Like, you got to fix your offensive line next offseason, or else this is going to happen again. As far as the actual game, Josh Allen, you're an idiot. You threw 3 interceptions and fumbled the ball once. You could have gone out of bounds easily on a scramble play. Instead, you cut back inside and take an unnecessary hit. Your body is going to wear down. You will end up being the next Cam Newton if you do not take care of your body. Run out of bounds and stop making stupid, idiotic plays. Now, the first interception, it's an arm punt. I'm cool with that. You tried to make a play down the field and the guy was downed at like the 4-yard line. Okay, cool, whatever. That's fine. Let's imagine it was a punt. Because it was like 3rd and, 8. It was 3rd and long. So, fine. If you don't want to run for it, if there's no one down close to you who's open to check it down, that's fine. And it's like, you know what? I'm just going to give the guy a chance. If it's picked off, it's picked off. And at that point, it's a punt. Okay, cool. The hell were the other 2 plays? Like, one, I think, was a spectacular play by Jordan Whitehead when he jumped the pass to Gabe Davis. That one, I'll give to Jordan. He did well. The fumble. Just, I understand you're trying to save the play and try to get back to the line of scrimmage, maybe get a yard or 2 out of it. Sometimes, just go down. Give yourself up. Live to fight another down. Because you are up. You can hop on, just go down, give yourself up, and if you're able to then punt the football away, then guess what? The Jets have to go down the length of the field. Not go, 25, 30 yards? Like, that was bad. That was bad by Josh. And the one last thing I will say is that I told my brother-in-law I have 2 issues with the Buffalo Bills. And I saw this watching the preseason. So this is where, preseason doesn't count for your record, but it matters a little bit. I saw this. As I saw it in 2 games. I didn't really watch them play the Colts, but I watched them play the Steelers and I watched them play the Bears. I said I have 2 concerns. One is your offensive line depth. Tommy Doyle has a season-ending injury in the preseason game versus Pittsburgh, and they were already low on depth. So I don't like your offensive line depth. That's 1. 2, I don't like your special teams. I don't. Calvin Austin, big return. Steelers nearly blocked one. Literally got a finger on it, enough to affect it a little, just not enough to block it completely. But still, that's getting there, slightly blocking the punt, which it did affect it. It was a pretty bad punt versus Pittsburgh. And that's putting pressure on Sam Martin. Chicago, I think Chicago had a pretty big return too, if I remember correctly. So I'm like, I don't like your special teams. I don't. Lo and behold, Your Honor, Exhibit A. Overtime, Bills go 3-and-out. Okay, you're going to punt the ball, and you're going to hope your defense forces a 3-and-out, and maybe you can get a chance for a field goal. Okay. Let's count where things went wrong. I listened to the commentators. They said Sam Martin was able to corral or handle the snap, something along those lines. Basically, like it was a bad snap, and he was able to get it. Okay, that's number one. Number two. I'm watching Sam Martin get the ball and punt it. There was a Jets player coming at him. So a guy got free. And he pressured Sam Martin. That's number two. Number three. It was a bad punt. You can put that on the pressure. You can put that on the bad snap. You can put that on a mix of both. Whatever. It was a bad punt. That's number three. Number four. That was terrible punt coverage by the Bills. Terrible punt coverage. And the guy was able to break it. Xavier Gipson. He was able to break it and go. Touchdown, Jets, game over. I called it. Like, literally the two things where I don't like the Jets' offensive line. Aaron Rodgers is going to end up getting hurt. Week 1, 4 snaps in. And multiple pressures before that. And I don't like the Bills' special teams. Preseason matters a little bit. It does. It matters a little. Because it can give you an idea of what to expect. Now, granted, Pittsburgh did very well in the preseason. Their starting offense had 5 drives, 5 touchdowns. They sucked. So that's not always, a great indication, but it can give you a little bit of insight. And I'll say this too. Bringing up the Bills' special teams and how Pittsburgh had a big punt return. And, okay, so maybe Pittsburgh could have good returning this year. The kickoff returns. Literally every single time they got a kickoff, Anthony McFarland got just a little bit further, and a little bit further, and a little bit further. And it's like, okay, you about to break one here? Like, what the hell is going on? Like, so that is a little bit of an indicator. It's like, okay, we had a good punt return, so maybe we have good returning, whether it's punt or kickoff. And here you go. He got a little bit further each time. And I was, pleasantly surprised with how well Anthony McFarland returned the kickoffs. So that's just it with the preseason. And I called stuff like that. So there are a few plays here and there across all games where I could have been right, could have been wrong, instead of the opposite. So getting 8 correct and 8 wrong, that's not bad. Also, not knowing exactly how teams are going to shape out. But also like Kansas City. Kadarius Toney, don't drop passes, or don't even drop the one that was for the pick 6. And guess what? The Chiefs win. If Miami doesn't make that play, or if the Chargers go down the field and right at the end, and there's obviously things here and there, but 8-8, not bad. And the next video you see will be a prediction video for week 2. So if you guys are excited for that, do me a favor, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and turn notifications on. I'll see everyone in the next video. Thanks for watching.